Hello, and welcome to the penultimate video on the Moore's Edge project. In this one, we are going over how the client or host is going to get the recommendations into Webflow. And that is through a Glide app. Glide started out allowing you to create apps with just a Google Sheet. And so it worked really well. Oh, it does work really well. And they expanded into pages. So now you can have a much larger view of what you would create in the app. And so here is the app that I created for the Moore's Edge project. So this is not only for the host or the client to go around town on their phone and input new recommendations, but they can also put in their house manual and have the guest, when they arrive, scan a QR code to get the app, and so they'll have the recommendations and the house manual. So in the recommendations, people can go in, they see the recommendation, they can favorite the recommendation, call the place. If you have a phone number, go to their website and then click on the map, and this will open the maps application and give them directions to the place. And then the house manual, it's just a very simple thing. This is Paco. He's in the Airbnb in Mexico. So obviously this is just random pictures to see that the layout. So you can take pictures of the parking area and put that in here and explain what goes on with the parking. Same thing with any other things. So if you have an arriving routine, so you want to wait and have them scan it to give them the Wi-Fi code, you can do that. Safety kitchen, the whole bit. And then of course, easy ways to get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you. So now as the host, what I can do is I can go in and can add recommendations, and then I can also edit the recommendation, and then I can also delete it. So I'm using Google Sheets. I originally tried using the internal database for Glide. Glide has an internal database. You can use Google Sheets, and coming soon is Airtable, which I'm very excited about. I can't wait for that one. So when I had it on the internal one, what I did was bring it in with a webhook in Integromat, and then create an item in Webflow, and that worked flawlessly. I can also bring back the ID, because the ID of the recommendation item is needed to be able to then update or delete. Well, I had no way of getting it back into, or I didn't know a way of getting it back into the internal Glide database. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent or a side, and I created this in Airtable, and through some buttons and the scripting app, I'm able to create, update, and delete. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I should use Zapier, and so I created a multi-step Zap in Zapier, and then figured out that I didn't want to pay the $30 a month just to test this out to see if it worked. So I went back to Integromat and switched it over to Google Sheets. So I'm using Google Sheets, and it works. Let's go back to scenarios. So what this does is it watches for a new row, then creates an item in Webflow, and then brings back the item ID. so that later on I can update the item or delete the item. So with the update, I originally did this. They have another Google Sheet watch, which watches for any updated rows. But I couldn't get that to work. So with doing the Airtable, down the Airtable road, did this webhook, which then pulls the existing row from Google Sheets, then updates Webflow, and then brings back the modified date so that I have something to compare it to if I need to update it again. So then created delete, and the delete works great. Webhook, it deletes it. Glide will delete it from the Google Sheet, and then what this does is delete it from Webflow. The only problem is that if I delete anything, it now breaks the create, because if the worksheet contains a blank row, no rows after the blank row will be processed. So then I have to go back in, delete this watch, add a new watch. Oops. Get my spreadsheet, recommendations, table contains headers, yes, row headers limit 2. Oh, you can, this, I only set maximum of 2 because, if they're out for dinner and they're adding it as a recommendation, they're only adding that one. They're not going to be adding a bunch more. If at some point we open this up for the guests to be able to then add, we can, up the limit. It just keeps it so that it runs quicker. So now we want to choose where to start. I have done all, and I'm going to manually choose this one so that we have something that will actually be in it, so that I can do this next step. So run this module. And so now it has picked up that row that I specified. I have to reset the fields in here, which is a pain in the butt. But I'm okay with that for now because, oops, now that I know that Airtable is coming as the database for this, I can then use Airtable scripting and automation to be able to create, update, and delete the items in Webflow. Because that's already working. I just have to change it over to be automated instead. Okay. That one's good. Need the row number, item ID. So that should actually now run. Oops. Wonder if it still has that other one in there. Yep. There it goes. I didn't do anything over there. Oh, well, that's because there's nothing there. So we're going to create Ross's grill. Oops. Let's go back. Add Ross's grill. What do they refer themselves as? We'll just pick up something here. Most talked about dining experience for over 20 years. It is really good. European bistro. Let's put European bistro. Abstract. Friendly. Let's see. We always enjoy spending time at Ross's. A friendly, warm atmosphere with delicious food and a wine list that can't be beat. So somewhere on my desktop, let's see what the name of it is. Full size. I think this is the private dining room. So stained glass window in the private dining room. Location. And here I have them put in the exact address. Although you can have it. There is a 02660. There is a switch. You can have a switch in here that says use my current location. And I think if you were in a place that is more spread out, that would be fine. This is not very spread out. There are lots of different individual little shops and restaurants within a very small area. So it will not always be very accurate if you just use my location. For instance, from the front of my house, it has it at the right address, but if I go to the back of the house, it has it next door. Why? I don't know. Okay, so let me just double check. It is running. And I'm going to add. What happens if I hit run once? It found it. It added it. Back to the Google Sheet. So let's go here. I now have an item number. And then if I go here, I refresh. I should stop saying here. I'm now in the Webflow Designer. Click on the CMS collections, the recommendations, and now Ross's Grill is there. Let's go back to the Glide app for a minute. And I just want to show you now, because it's more than 3, I have this limited to 3. There's more than 3. It now says see all. So now it will give you the exact same list as if you clicked on the recommendations button. Now it is a different list. And see, you can, right now I have them grouped. But once there's a lot more, people will probably use the filter and be able to filter out which ones they want to see. And then if you hit have a favorite, that's interesting. So let's not do Jimmy's here unless I unfavorited it there. Favorites. Nope, I must have unfavorited it. So you can favorite and sort of create mini itineraries. Would be fun. And then the house manual stuff just stays within the Google Sheet. It doesn't go into Webflow. There's really no need for it in this case. Maybe in a different case, there would be a need for that. But that is basically it. There are a lot of resources on designing in Glide. So Glide has a bunch of resources. A lot of them are very short, really. I don't want to say easy, but you can follow along with it. I'm very excited about the Airtable integration, and so I will have a follow-up video on all of this. And at that point, we'll see how we're doing, how the client and the host is doing in getting the information in. We're in February. The season doesn't start until mid-June. So I don't know when the next video on this series will come out. But I will start another one. And this one will be my Airbnbs. I have 2 of them, but they are in no way in such a spectacular location as this. So the next set or series will be on Anthony Street Airbnbs. So there's 2 of them in the same house. So it's multifamily, and I'm in East Providence, Rhode Island. So you'll get to see some of Providence and some of my Airbnbs. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.